A very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to week two of semester two, and welcome to CIN 706 class. Today is Wednesday, time is 2 o'clock, 2 p.m., and as per our timetable, we will be conducting our lecture class. So far, we will be sticking to the same as per our timetable. So, our lecture class is going to be on Wednesday. Our tutorial and consultation class is going to be on Friday, 2 to 4 p.m. Now, we had some working students who had asked me to go around changing the class timetable. Now, I could have, and I don't mind changing it to the evenings, but the issue is with our connectivity issues. Normally during evening times, the internet traffic, the user traffic is bit high. So because of that, my internet connection speed is quite slow in the evenings. So to avoid that, we will conduct the class as per the timetable. And those of you who are working class students, what you can do is you can always go and view the lecture and tutorial videos as per Moodle. As per on Moodle, sorry. Okay, just very quickly, I'll go and stop my video so that you're able to hear me properly. Now, let's look at the week two welcome note. Okay, welcome to week two, semester two. You're required to do the following. So you are required to attend this particular class, which is the Zoom-based lecture class. And you are supposed to attempt the lecture-based quiz, which carries 1.5% towards your coursework. And you are to attempt the tutorial questions and also participate in the tutorial Zoom-based discussion class. Furthermore, if you have any questions or queries, you're most welcome to contact me on email, or you can always drop me a message on Moodle. Now, week two is going to be a bit different from week one in terms of our structure remains the same. You have lecture, you have quiz, you have tutorial two. But what we'll be doing is we will be dividing lecture 2 into 2 weeks. So lecture 2 will also be in week 3. It's close to about 60 plus slides, out of which slide 1 to 30 will be discussed in today's class, and the remaining will be discussed in next week's class. Therefore, next week you will not have any lecture-based quiz. You are to attempt the quiz on week 2. As for your tutorial questions 1 and 2, let me just quickly open up the tutorial. Tutorial questions 1 to 3, you are to attempt it on forum that is provided. Now here's the thing. Last week we went around discussing the tutorial questions whereby I dictated the answers to you. This is going to be a bit different. I'm just trying to change around things a bit here and there so that we'll try to make this course as interesting as possible. So you are to answer questions 1 to 3. So as soon as you answer this forum, upon answering it, I will release the sample answers. However, there's one condition. Sample answers will only be released once attempted. If you do not attempt your tutorial questions, question number 1 to 3, you will not get the sample answer. Moreover, in a tutorial question, you'll see that we have case studies. So case study 1 will be discussed in the tutorial class. So in tutorial class, only the discussion of case study 1. We'll do some consultation, and also we'll go and have a look at surprise in the tutorial class. I will reveal the surprise to you just in a while. In fact, I'll reveal it to you right now. So your surprise is assessment. Okay, your critic writing assessment is already released on Moodle. It carries 5% towards your coursework. So the discussion of your critic writing question will take place in our tutorial class. Now the critic writing is supposed to be done in groups of 3. So when you have chosen your group members, you can do it alone. If you want to do so, you can have it done in pairs, but the maximum number of people in a group should be 3 only. So once you've done that, your next thing that you're supposed to do is you're supposed to go and choose your question. So in the question PDF document, there's a total of 18 questions, and out of which you'll go and choose one only. So as soon as a group chooses one of the question, so that question becomes unavailable. So the other groups will have to go and choose the other 17 and so forth. And the choosing of the question will be available from the 7th of August, which is on Saturday, and it's available from 1 a.m. in the morning. So what I'm doing is, why 1 a.m. and why on Saturday, why not today? I'm trying to give a fair ground to everyone, because our working students will be viewing this recording probably this evening or by tomorrow or by Friday. So at least they know that I've catered for them, and they may go and choose the question on a fair ground basis, whereby they'll be competing with one another, with you, the day scholars, to actually go and choose a question for themselves as well. So that's on the critic writing. So more discussions on this will be taking place in Friday's class. Now it's due 4 weeks from now, more than 4 weeks in fact. So no, a bit less than 4 weeks. It's due on the 1st of September, 11:59 p.m. So we'll discuss this in the tutorial class. Now, any questions, any queries, anyone, before we move on? Nope. If no questions, let's open up our lecture notes. So, in today's lecture notes, we're looking at decisions and processes, value-driven business. Now, this chapter has overview of 2 sections. So the first section is on decision support system, and the second section is on business processes. Altogether, you have 6 learning points, out of which we will be covering up these 3: making organizational business decisions, measuring organizational business decisions, using MIS to make business decisions. So we were looking at those 3 points in today's class, and the remainder of it, we'll be covering it in next week's class. Now, decisions and business decisions, especially at organizational level, they're very important. Now, before we are able to actually know what types of decisions are made and who makes it and why they make it, you must first of all know the organizational structure. Now, anyone here in the class knows what are some of the levels in the organizational structure? Any levels in the organizational structure, anyone? No? Okay, we'll get down to it in the next few slides. So decision support systems, that is our first section. And then we have the learning outcomes. Now the learning outcomes is basically what all things you should know by the time you finish this particular section. Why it's important? Generally, when we test you, generally when we give questions in the exams, we try to cover up these learning outcomes. So while you're revising for your mid-semester exam or your final assessment, please do know that you are covering up these learning outcomes. The first one is we'll explain the importance of decision making for managers at each of the 3 primary organization levels, along with the associated decision characteristics. So there are 3 levels in an organization. So what is the importance for decision making at all of those 3 levels? We'll go and define critical success factors and key performance indicators, KPI, and explain how managers use them to measure the success of MIS projects. So you have MIS projects. Now, projects are generally something that is temporary. They are not like a normal operation of a business. So to measure that, of how well your project is, either how well it is doing, whether it's in a successful stage or a failure stage, you will use some form of matrix. And the matrix that you have is critical success factor, and then you have KPIs. So those are used to actually go and measure the success of a MIS project. Also, we'll go and classify the 3 different types of support systems. So you have operational, managerial, and strategic. Now, generally operational, managerial, and strategic, these are the 3 primary levels of an organization. Here, 3 primary levels: operational, managerial, and strategic. So all of them, they have different types of support systems. And we'll go and explain how managers can use them to make decisions and gain competitive advantage. And the word competitive advantage generally means a business having a competitive edge over another business. What it simply means by the word competitive edge, it means a business is doing better than another business. So if you are the main purpose of any business would be to make revenue or to attract new customers. So if there's company A and company B, so if company A is attracting more customers compared to company B, that means company A has a competitive advantage. And fourth point is we'll go and describe artificial intelligence and identify its 5 main types. So when you talk about artificial intelligence, it simply means is you are trying to imitate human thinking, human capabilities, but with the use of machines. And we'll go and have a look at that. Making organizational business decisions, managerial decision-making challenges. Now, we must agree that there are challenges in each and every point and part of our lives. So as a manager, there are several decision-making challenges as well. And managers have different ways to extract information and feed them into the information systems. So with different ways comes in different levels of expertise and different levels of experience. So based on their experience, different managers will face different types of challenges. First one is analyze large amounts of information. Now we live in a world of information. Last week we looked at information age. Okay, that means large amount of information and data. So with a large amount of information, the difficulty level of making decision also increases. So that's the very first challenge. The second challenge is apply sophisticated analysis techniques. When you talk about analysis, you're talking about you collecting data, looking at it, and trying to come up with solutions. So sophisticated analysis techniques, okay, basically it looks at the types of analytical tools to use. Example, modeling, forecasting, and all this may be challenging in terms of which tools should the managers go and try to use to get the best outcome. And finally, make decisions quickly. There may be times when managers need to make decisions quick and fast. Therefore, it may be difficult to do it manually. It may be difficult to make decisions quickly, just like that. So what happens is there comes a need whereby management information systems needs to be introduced to businesses. The decision-making process. There are 6 steps in making decisions. So you have problem identification, data collection, solution generation, solution test, solution selection, and solution implementation. Let's have a look at this. When you look at problem identification, you're trying to define a problem as clearly and precisely as possible. So what you're doing is you're looking at the key problems affecting a business, you're looking at the customer's views on products or services, or you're looking at the root cause, which is leading to a decline in revenue and the production time. Data collection is when you gather problem-related data, including who, what, where, when, how, and why. Be sure to get the facts, not rumors or opinions about the problem. With data collection, basically you are finding reasons for falling short. You are trying to come up with immediate steps the company can take to improve the processes. You are also trying to ensure that whom are you listening to? Are you listening to actual complaints or are you just listening to rumor complaints? And you're also trying to look into the details of struggling departments. Solution generation. Solution generation is possible solutions for improvements. Or also it details every solution possible, including ideas that seem far-fetched. So like mentioned earlier, solution generation, you're looking for all the possible solutions for problems, not just one or two, probably many. And then the solution that the management team has. Moreover, how will the best solution be collected? So you're looking at all these elements. So once, let's say you've selected about 5 of those solutions, and now you want to see which one is the best one. Then you come to step number 4, solution test. Are solutions long-term or short-term? which is talking about in terms of you are basically looking at this. Okay, evaluate solutions in terms of feasibility. Can it be completed? You're looking at suitability. Is it permanent or temporary, long-term or short-term? And acceptability. Can all participants form a consensus? So like mentioned earlier, you're looking at solutions, whether they are short-term or long-term. You're looking at the costs associated with the solutions. And moreover, you're looking at the team feedback on the solution. Does the team, the participants is in this case, do they like it? If they don't like it, would they sabotage it? Solution selection. So select the solution that best solves the problem and meets the needs of the business. So what you're doing is, based on the different types of solutions that you have come up with, step 3, you have tested it. Based on the test, you try to come up with one solution. So with that, you are thinking, are you comfortable with the decision that you have made? Or how will a strong lead be made with the decision? How would you go around actually putting the solution into action? Solution implementation. When we talk about implementation, that means you have already put the solution within the organization. So once it's done, if the solution solves the problem, then the decisions made were correct. If not, then the decisions were incorrect and the process begins again. That means if the solution was not correct, what you're doing is generally you're beginning it from all over. Okay, so with solution implementation, there may be more things that you will be doing. You would be evaluating and tracking your solution. You would be seeing whether it is achieving the desired goals or not. If the results are poor, what will be your next set of steps? If something goes wrong, how will you change the direction of the solution without upsetting the work environment or employees? Now, decision-making essentials, you're looking at, when you talk about decision-making essentials, it's an important element in an organization or for any business in that matter. It affects the business and culture with the environment. So you have 3 levels in an organization. You have strategic, you have managerial, you have operational. Strategic level, you generally deal with the chief information officer or the chief financial officer or chief executive officer. With managerial, you're looking at the middle level managers, example, the store manager or the regional manager. The operational level, you're looking at people at the ground level, for example, the cashier, the clerk, the inventory clerk, the customer representative, or maybe just a janitor. With operational decision making, remember operational decision making, the low level staffs, okay, the cashier, customer, rep, inventory clerk, janitors, okay, they do operational decision making. Now, these are the employees who develop, control, and maintain core business activities required to run the day-to-day operations. And they make structured decisions, situations where established processes offer potential solutions. So, operational decision making, it involves decisions that affects the day-to-day operations of the business. And some of the activities involved in operational decision making may be payroll, scheduling, order processing, you're looking at order tracking, and also you are looking at accounts payable or accounts receivable. And the type of decisions that they are making, like mentioned in the slide, is structured. Why structured? It's in an orderly manner. The decision may be scripted, even it may be written. If something happens, so this is what you should do. And these are some of the decisions that affect day-to-day operations of the business. Another thing why we can say structured is because these decisions, they incur on a regular basis. It is something that has to be made more frequently. So more frequently the decision is made, it becomes structured over time. Now, when you come to managerial decision making, so these are the middle level staffs. So these employees evaluate company operations to identify, adapt to, and leverage change. And they make semi-structured decisions. This occurs in situations in which a few established processes have to evaluate potential solutions, but not enough to lead to a definite recommended decision. To simplify all this, Managerial decision making generally involves the middle level management or probably supervisors of operations and so forth. And the types of the activities involved is, let's say, sales management, you have audit management, you have sales analysis by regions, generally made by sales regional managers, and then you have contract analysis, generally made by HR managers. And the type of decision that they make, as we have called out previously, is semi-structured. Now, why semi-structured? It's not as frequently as structured decisions, okay, and it requires a bit of thinking on the part of the managers. Now, there doesn't need to be a framework for this type of decision making. Why? Because it's not structured, and mostly these type of decisions are made on ad hoc basis. When we say ad hoc basis, it's on need basis only. For example, you have a sales manager who is trying to sell his product to a new customer, a new business. And then there are some questions which is very much new because this is a new customer after all. So this particular sales manager has to make some ad hoc decisions on need basis. Next up, we have strategic decision making. Strategic decision making managers develop overall strategies, goals, and objectives. Remember, strategic decisions or strategic goals or strategic level. When you talk about strategic, it's about long-term goals, long-term missions, long-term objectives. Generally, we're talking about years, 3 to 5 years, and so forth. And the types of decision that is involved in strategic decision making is unstructured decisions. Occurs in situations in which no procedures or rules exist to guide decision makers toward the correct choice. Now, with strategic decision making, generally people who are involved there are senior management people, those who are involved in long-term goals. And some types of activities that may be involved in strategic decision making is sales trend forecasting, you have budget forecasting, you have profit planning, you have fixation of long-term goals rather. Types of decision is unstructured. When we say unstructured, there's no rules, there's no hard or fast guidelines. Moreover, it's non-recurring. Why non-recurring? Is because these decisions generally need to be made from a business point of view, generally need to be made in the dimensions of a market. And the dimensions of market generally change over a period of time. And it's on a one-time basis only. For example, in year 2000, if I would be selling a product and if I'm owning an electronic company, I would say, let's introduce MP3 players and sell it for about $100 to $200. Let's introduce iPods and sell it for $1,000. In year 2021, I wouldn't be making the decision because we know that MP3 players are replaced by smartphones. How? You have music players in your smartphones. Moreover, you have YouTube whereby you can not only hear to music, but you can also see videos as well. So these are non-recurring decisions, and based on the dimensions of market, it generally changes. Measuring organizational business decisions. Project, a temporary activity a company undertakes to create a unique product. Very true. Or service or result. Very true in terms of temporary. Why temporary? Projects, they are not like normal operations. Generally, they have a purpose, and the purpose is to create a unique product. Moreover, projects generally tend to have a start and end date. And then you have metrics. Metrics are the measurements that evaluate results to determine whether a project is meeting its goals. So in general terms, a metric, it measures and outweighs the results of a project. So whatever the aim of the project was, so a metric goes and measures it and sees whether that has been achieved or not. So when you are trying to measure business decisions, there are a few more things that must be taken into mind and few more things that can help you out with measuring it. So you have CSF, which is critical success factors. These are crucial steps. Crucial, in other words, essential steps companies perform to achieve their goals and implement their strategies. For example, create high quality products, retain competitive advantage, reduce product costs, increase customer satisfaction, hire and retain the best business professionals. So these may be some examples of critical success factors. Next up, we have key performance indicators. Key performance indicator is quantifiable metrics a company uses to evaluate progress towards critical success factors. Turnover rates of employees, percentage of help desk calls answered in the first minute, number of products returned, number of new customers, average customer spending. To summarize and make it easy for you to understand, when you talk about critical success factors, we're talking about essential factors that allows you to achieve your goals and objectives. And KPI, this is a metric that is used in CSF. Okay. In other words, it gives a feedback about your critical success factors, the critical success factors that the organization has employed, and it measures the progress of it. Let me repeat that. KPI gives a feedback about the critical success factors that the organization has employed and measures the progress of the critical success factors. Some of the questions, let's say if I put up a question and say, what are some of the personal success factors that you have in your life? So your answer may be in terms of continuous learning. Your answer may be in terms of exercising and practicing healthy habits. It would be build better professional relationships. So to measure that, so you will go and see if you want to have continuous learning, what are the qualifications that you've attained in, let's say, last 6 months or a year. And exercise, second one was exercising and practicing healthy habits. That was the critical success factor. So the KPI would be go and look at your body weight, go and have a medical checkup done. And to build better professional relationship, so the KPI would be is how many business partners have you joined? How many new professionals have you built a relationship with, in which you're able to get aid in one way or the other? It's the same as the previous slide. KPI. There are two types of KPIs. You have internal and external. Now, when you talk about internal, you're talking about KPI within the organization. And then you have KPIs that measures the critical success factors outside the organization. When you talk about external, so generally you're talking about market share, the portion of the market the firm captures. Another one could be is customers, the number of customers that you have, or the number of business partners that you have attained over the period of time. With the internal KPI, you're more likely looking at the KPIs within the organization, and one of it given is return on investment, indicates the earning power of a project. So return on investment, ROI, in simple terms, this is the amount of finances that you have put in to begin a project, and once it has begun, what are the amounts of profit it is actually generating, return on investment. Examples of internal KPIs, another example would be is you measure the amount of revenue, increase revenue. So if you have increased revenue, eventually increases the amount of profits. So indirectly, when your profits increases, your return on investment also increases. Efficiency and effectiveness metrics. Efficiency MIS metrics, it measures the performance of the MIS system itself, including throughput, speed, and availability. And effectiveness MIS metrics measures the impact MIS has on business processes and activities, including customer satisfaction, conversion rates, and sell-through increases. Now, when you're looking at efficiency MIS metric, in simple terms, you're looking at to what extent has a firm been using the resources and whether they are using it in an optimal way or not. And with effectiveness MIS metrics, you're looking at or focusing on how well a firm is achieving its goals and objectives, whether they are doing right things, achieving right goals, right objectives, whether it's accomplished or not. This effectiveness MIS metric. Let me repeat that. With efficiency MIS metrics, you're looking at the extent to which the firm is using its resources and whether they're using it in an optimal way or not. Effectiveness is whereby you are trying to focus how well a firm is achieving its goals and objectives, whether they are doing it in right ways, whether they're doing right things. Are they achieving the right goals and objectives, or are they accomplished or not? Now, if you look at the factors included in efficiency MIS metrics, you have throughput. Throughput is the amount of information that can travel through a system. You have speed, how fast as possible. You have system availability. That means whether if the system is available 24/7 or does it drops after a period of time. Then you have cohesiveness. Another word for cohesiveness is accuracy. So how accurate is the information? And then you have response time. When we talk about response time is how quickly it is able to take an input, process, and produce an output. With effectiveness, you have satisfaction, customer satisfaction generally. You have usability, that is ease of use. You have conversion rates. With conversion rates, how much time it takes a first-time user to become a customer and start purchasing products and services. And then you have sell-through increases, or in other words, you have financial increments. If you have financial increments, so that means you're looking at returns on investment, you're looking at cost benefit analysis, and even you're looking at break-even analysis. So let's go and have a look at your efficiency and effectiveness MIS metrics in terms of graphs. So this particular plot that you're seeing, this is your optimal area to operate. By optimal area, because your efficiency level, when you talk about efficiency, that means if the organization is using the resources in an optimal way, it's high. That means the organization is using the resources well. And effectiveness would mean that they're achieving their goals and objectives. So if I put up a plot, let's say somewhere here in the middle, okay, let's say here. Oh, okay, let's change it. Let's put it here. Okay, pardon me. Let's put it here and somewhere here. All right. I hope you're able to see the cursor. So is that a good point or a bad point? Now, if I have to conclude, I would say that is a bad point. Why? Even though your efficiency is high, your effectiveness is low. So in other words, you have high use or optimal use of your resources, but you're not meeting your goals and objectives. Remember, efficiency, resources, if it's used in an optimal way, is high. Effectiveness, whether you're meeting your goals or not, so that's low. So in other words, that is not the place where you would generally want your business to be. Therefore, this particular plot here is the baseline. So the baseline or the benchmark, okay, let's go and have a look at the definition of that. Now, benchmarks are basically baseline values the system seeks to attain. Now, what it does, it helps assess how the MIS project performs over time. Let's say if you have a cafe shop and your baseline or benchmark would be is to attain a sales of $500 per day. So that's your benchmark. That is $500 per day, you should be able to get that amount of sales. Now, benchmarking is basically a process of continuously measuring system results, comparing those results to optimal system performance, benchmark values, and identify steps and procedures to improve system performance. So benchmarking is basically, let's say you have a benchmark. In our previous examples, cafe earning $500, that's a benchmark. And benchmarking is you have achieved a result. Let's say you have done sales in the cafe shop for about $350. So now what you do is you compare the 350 with 500 and see what are the problems and what are the steps that you can identify or procedures that you can identify to actually improve the sales amount. So benchmarking does the same with an information system. So you have a benchmark and then you have a result. So then you try to compare and see whether you have reached the baseline value. If not, what could be some of the procedures that can be applied, and how you can improve the procedures and performance of that particular information system. Model. Now, model is basically a simplified representation or abstraction of reality. In other words, it's like a prototype. Have a look at the house in that picture there. It's on my hand. So that's a model, small version of the house. Likewise, you can do something with management information systems as well to make decisions. Now, models help managers to calculate risks. It helps them to understand the uncertainty. It changes variables, manipulate time to make decisions. So when you talk about calculate risks, so when you create a model, with a model, you are able to sort of imagine what the actual system would be like and what could be some of the calculated risks associated with it. Moreover, understand certainty. So with the risks, you do know what could be some things that could go wrong, and then you will try to correct them up. Change variables. So changing variables is more like you changing certain elements within a model. Sorry, with the model, you should be able to know, okay, these are the variables that I use, and these variables leading to a wrong result. So you can change the variables. Manipulate time to make decisions. Now, using MIS to make business decisions. Now, have a look at this particular graph, and this is what we have learned so far. So these are your organizational level. We have operational, managerial, and strategic. So operational staff will generally make structured decision. Managerial staff will generally make unstructured decision. Strategic staff would make unstructured decisions. Now, the types of information systems that they generally use are as such. For operational, you have TPS, transaction processing system. For managerial, you have BSS, decision support system. For strategic, you have executive information systems. So these are the types of the information systems that are generally used. Now, TPS, transaction processing systems, basic business system that serves the operational level and assists in making decisions. So when you talk about TPS, in simple way, you are talking about a system that tracks and records day-to-day activities of a business. Simple definition. It tracks and records day-to-day activities of a business. And then you have online transaction processing, capturing of transaction event information using technology to process, store, and update. With OLTP, what you're doing is you're trying to capture the transactions that is incurring at the operational level, and you're trying to capture it with the use of technology to process, store, and update them. Source document is the original transaction record. A source document, just like when you are out in the supermarkets, let's say you're buying something for Max Value. So Max Value uses POS systems, point of sale. So they give a receipt to you, and then a copy of that receipt is also saved in their system. So whatever is stored in their system within a specific period of time, they'll be pulling out all records, and they will be doing their revenue statement, revenue and expenditure statement, their balance sheets, and so forth. So that is an example of a source document or the record of transaction. So if you look at the systems thinking view of a TPS, you have input, process, and output. And generally, each of these processes is overlooked by feedback. Now, the abbreviation CRUDE over there would stand for create, read, update, and delete. Now, systems thinking, basically, it provides a holistic view of the system. When we talk about holistic view, we're looking at an overview of the system. Now, the feedback is very important in systems thinking. Remember, we're talking about in lecture 1. So the feedback ensures that appropriate metrics are associated. Now, it also provides better view of opportunities and challenges associated with input, process, and output. So the feedback gives that view to the managers. The managerial support system. Now in your organizational level, this is the middle level. Okay, and you're looking at OLAP. That means online analytical processing. Now you had OLTP, online transaction processing, that used. Now OLTP, it captures the transaction, okay, and stores it in the system. Whereas OLAP, what it does, it analyzes the transaction and then it tries to come up with knowledge which aids in decision making. Let's read that. Okay, manipulation of information to create business intelligence in support of strategic decision making. Now, DSS, this is what management staffs, the middle level people in the organization use. Models information to support managers and business professionals during the decision making process. So the OLAP assists with it. It analyzes information provided by the TPS, and based on that, it would try to come up with aiding models to make decisions. So DSS generally has 4 types of quantitative models. It has what if analysis, it has sensitivity analysis, it has goal seeking analysis, and optimization. By the way, before we move on, have you ever used a DSS? Have you ever used a DSS? Now, I'm sure those who are of working class, you have used DSS at your home, at your works rather. But what about those, the day scholars? Have you used DSS, full-time students? Have you used DSS previously? No, yes. Okay, probably there's one place that you have used. If you have used Microsoft Excel, and if you have ever done a loan calculation, that's a DSS. Or it serves as an example of DSS. It assists you to make decisions. So with the loan calculation, you are able to know what would be a monthly payment, what would be your total interest amount, what would be your total loan amount that you're paying off over a certain period of time. Okay, now many businesses, they also use Excel in forms of tracking trends, and they use it in terms of pivot tables. You have Excel scenarios, you have goal seeker, and so forth. Now, if you look at the 4 quantitative models of DSS, you have what if. Now, what if, just like a what if analysis, okay, if this happens, then something would happen. So what if analysis checks the impact of a change in an assumption of the proposed solution. And sensitivity analysis, what it does, it studies the impact that changes one more part of the model have on the other parts of the model. In other terms, if there's a change in one of the models, so that change may lead to another change in another model. That is sensitivity analysis. When you have goal-seeking analysis, what you are trying to do is you are trying to find the input necessary to achieve a goal. Goal-seeking analysis. And optimization analysis is an extension of goal-seeking analysis, and it finds the optimum value of target variable by repeatedly changing other variables. And this is a holistic view of system thinking in a DSS. So the input, so whatever your output was from your TPS, that becomes your input. Okay, and the processes, the 4 types of models that we had just analysis that we had just looked at, what if, sensitivity, goal seeking, and optimization. And the output that you're getting is forecasts, simulations, and ad hoc reports. Now, this output generally would be used by strategic management, strategic decision makers. Okay, basically by the people at the top level of the organization. Okay, and you have the feedbacks as well. Now, interaction between TPS and DSS. The TPS, it supplies transaction-based data. All this provides transaction-based data to the DSS. And the DSS summarizes and aggregates the information from many different TPS systems, which assist managers in decision making. So information from TPS, it is passed on to DSS as input, it's processed, and then you get output in terms of forecasts, simulations, and ad hoc reports, and that aids in decision making to the middle level managers. Strategic support systems. Okay, now when you look at strategic support systems, okay, if you look at the organization levels, so this is the top to bottom structure or bottom to top. Okay, any way you like to say it. So top to bottom is strategic, managerial, operation. Bottom to top is operational, managerial, and strategic. Now at lower levels, which is here, it involves daily tasks such as processing is involved. And if you're moving up, so you have less of fine details and more of meaningful and aggregated information, which otherwise we call it as coarse information. When you talk about fine detail, when you talk about fine here, it means it's very, very detailed. For example, if you're recording sales, so you're recording what item, how much sales, what time, what date, who sold it, and so forth. And if you're looking at coarse details, which is somewhere at the top, you're looking at abstract information. So over here, information will be total sales for the month of July, profit, expenses, so forth. So if you look at the difference, this is very detailed at the bottom, fine, and on top, it's abstract information or summarized information on the other words. And these are some of the visualizations that generally help strategic decision makers to make decisions in terms of pie chart, bar, histogram, sparkline, time series, and so forth. This is the N501. Executive information system. So you have TPS for operational decision makers, you have DSS for managerial decision makers, and you have EIS, executive information system, for strategic decision makers. Now, EIS is basically a specialized DSS that supports senior level executives with the organization. So basically, it's like a DSS, but more specialized. Now, with them, or with ESS comes three things. You have granularity. When you talk about granularity, you're talking about the extent of detail in the information. So for EIS, so your granularity of information is going to be coarse information. Coarse here, coarse this, okay, coarse information, which means more of like summarized information. Now, visualization in EIS basically refers to producing graphical display of patterns and complex relationship in large amounts of data. Okay, it's just about you displaying all the patterns and information in forms of pictorial or graphical view, like pie chart, bar chart, histogram, and so forth. Now, digital dashboard, what it does, it keeps track of key performance indicators and critical success factors. Also, what digital dashboard is very useful is in terms of it compiles information from multiple sources and gives a summarized view of it. So with that, the strategic decision makers, they find it easy to look at the patterns, the trends. They'll find it easy to look at the KPIs and the critical success factors, and they find it easy to look at the abstract information that is provided and make quick decisions which may affect the business in a long term. And if you look at the diagram here, okay, so why is there a need for interaction between TPS and EIS? Generally, you have TPS, you have DSS, and EIS, and all three of them, they're connected to one another. But with that connection, the EIS can directly go and skip DSS and interact with the TPS. So why is there a need? Now, EIS need information from TPS for decision making. Okay, for example, order information summary may be retrieved from TPS. You may receive information in terms of inventory information summary, in terms of shipping information summary, and all these can assist in strategic decision making. Now, on the capabilities of EIS this from slide 31 onwards. We'll have a look at them and further on these set of slides in next week's class. So this is where we'll stop with our lecture notes. Any questions, any queries, anyone? Any questions, any queries, anyone? No? Okay, if no questions and no queries, just a quick reminder, please do go and attempt your tutorial 2, questions 1 to 3. You need to put the answers in the forum, only then the simple answers will be replied back to you. Moreover, your lecture quiz, now as you know, all your lecture quizzes, they are due on the 31st of October, and I would generally suggest not to attempt lecture 2 quiz at the moment. Attempt it once you finish the entire set of lecture slide from lecture 2. Okay, that means you can complete this in next week class. Now week 3, there will be no lecture quiz provided. Your tutorial link will be provided for you to attempt the tutorials from 4 to 7 and case study 2. In Friday's class from 2 to 4 p.m., we'll go ahead and have a look at case study 1. Moreover, we'll also discuss things on your critique writing. We'll discuss the question, we'll go over the questions, and yeah, and I'll also give an overview of how you go around doing critique writing. Reminder, okay, this is due on the 1st of September. So the faster you begin with it, the better it is, but you have to hold on till Saturday because you're yet to choose your topic. All right. So feel free to drop me an email or drop me a message on Moodle, or feel free to talk now. Yeah. So any questions, any queries? All right, so if no questions and no queries, thank you so much for joining in. I appreciate you coming in and using your time to attend the lectures. And I'm sure you will manage to learn a few things from today's class. So thank you very much. I'll see you all on Friday, 2 to 4 p.m. Till then, take care. Goodbye.